All right, welcome back to another episode of Clash of Cultures, y'all. As we continue on with our college football preview series, we're going to be taking a stop into Utah and checking out the Utes, back-to-back conference champions. So, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment down below what teams you guys want to see. As we continue along, we're almost at 500 subscribers now, so thank you guys so much for the love and support. But without further ado, Dad, how do you feel about Utah and their projection for this year?
Man, I've talked about a couple of Pac-12 teams that I thought were going to be really good. I think the Pac-12 is going to be fun this year because I think Utah is going to be very good. As I really looked at this Utah team, obviously we know they're bringing back Cam Rising, a very top talent quarterback, over 300 yards, over 25 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns to be exact last year, really kind of the heart and soul of this Utah team. But it's not just that. And we know they lost Kincaid, who was really their top receiver, but they're bringing back Jaquindon Jackson, Micah Bernard. They are bringing back some talent. I like what this team is bringing back. Devon Valley, I don't know how you say that. Valley, how you say that?
I'm not sure. I have no idea.
They're bringing back Money Parks. They are bringing back 4 or 5 offensive linemen. They're bringing back most of their defense. So when you look at this team, I think they lost maybe 4 players on defense, 1 defensive lineman, 1 linebacker, and 2 in the secondary. Now, obviously, they lost Clark Phillips, their top corner. But they are bringing back so much that I think Utah is going to be a very dangerous team. I think, and this may be my hot take as I looked at this Utah team, I think the Pac-12 may be the most competitive conference this upcoming football season.
I agree.
And I know we hold that for SEC and SEC lore, but I think a bunch of SEC teams that are down. I think a bunch of Big Ten teams are down. I think we're going to end the season with the Pac-12 having the most ranked teams. We talked about Utah. We talked about USC. We talked about Washington. We talked about Oregon. I would not be surprised if any one of those teams won the Pac-12. I wouldn't be surprised if any one of those teams end up in the playoffs as you look at each one of those teams. This Utah team is a team that can win the Pac-12 and is a team that could be in the playoffs. And so, like I said, those are 4, to me, playoff contenders. Again, do I think they're all going to get there? Obviously not. Do I think the Pac-12 is going to have a team in the playoffs? Absolutely. And I think this is, like I said, going to be the best conference in college football. What's your take on it?
So that's actually surprising because I have that in my notes as well.
Oh.
And I think I said this when we did the either Oregon video or the USC. I'm pretty sure it's Oregon because it didn't seem that long ago. Mm-hmm. A lot of people on the East Coast don't watch Pac-12 football because of the time change.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're watching this video and you are on the East Coast, you need to make it a point of emphasis this season to watch Pac-12 football.
Agree.
And the reason being, they have, like my dad said, they probably have the most complete teams in the Pac-12, top to bottom. When you're talking about conference, they're very what's the opposite of being top heavy? I guess they're leveled out. I guess you want to say. So they're leveled out. They have 4 to 5 teams who realistically could win the championship in the Pac-12. And then you have conference championship, by the way. Conference championship. That's what I meant. And then you have Colorado, who has a lot of media hype. DG Uiagalelei went to Oregon State, so there's a lot of good teams over there.
You may be talking about the top. And let me say 4 of the top, let's say 8 quarterbacks returning are coming out of the Pac-12. Obviously, with Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Penix, and Rising, those all probably have to reside in the top 4 to, let's
10,
just, I'll say 10, because obviously with Jordan Travis and there's some other quarterback, Drake May, that would be in there, but probably top 8. Pac-12 has 4 of the top 8 quarterbacks.
Yes, and I think so. Now we're talking about quarterbacks. I think Cam Rising and Utah, they are probably the most disrespected team in all of college football. Yeah. How are you a back-to-back conference champion winner, and you're coming into the season as the 15th best team? You brought back 8 of 11 starters on offense, 9 of 11 starters on defense. I guess the only kind of gripe I have with them is they didn't bring anybody in from the transfer portal of note. Like nobody notable in the transfer portal. But I mean, you lost Kincaid and you lost Clark Phillips. You still had a superb defense and a superb offense in your conference. And you only have a 17% chance to win your conference for the 3rd straight time. To me, that's a measly number. I don't think that's accurate at all. I know with the last video we recorded, I said I agreed with the Auburn numbers. I don't agree with these numbers at all. They should be ranked as a top 10 team coming in, and they should probably have closer to a 30% chance to win the Pac-12. Like I said, Cam Rising, he's probably the most underrated star quarterback in college football. In 2021, 2,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Another 500 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns. Last year, 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. Another 400 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground.
I remember he missed the game.
Yeah, I think he missed 2. I'm pretty sure he missed 2 games.
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah.
But I could be wrong. But last season, they were far and away the best defensive team in the conference, only giving up 20 points a game. The next closest was Oregon, and they gave up 27 points a game. So you're talking about a touchdown difference. Offensively, they had the 17th ranked offense in terms of yards per game at 466, only trailing USC in the conference. And they had the 11th ranked scoring offense in the country at 38. And when you think of Utah, you don't think of offense. Offense isn't something that's the first thing you come to your mind. You think of like smash mouth football, defense, winning the trenches. And they had the 11th ranked scoring offense, and they scored 38 points per game. I did not know that before recording this video and making my notes. I did not think that they were a top, 10 to 15 offense. And that surprised me. Like I said, they are replacing Kincaid and Phillips. But again, I think when you're bringing back that amount of starters, I said 8, 9, 17. So 17 of the 22 starters you're bringing back, that's a good amount of players who all have experience. And you're bringing back a top 5 quarterback in college football. Again, like I said, they didn't bring anybody in the transfer portal. But I don't really think they need to. You won the championship 2 years in a row with what you had. So I mean, I think the way they see it is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They brought in a few good pieces in recruiting. And so just to kind of pull up their schedule, like I said, they have a 17% chance according to ESPN to win the conference. I know I said my pick to win the conference is USC. I'm gonna stand on that and still believe that. But by no means would I be surprised if this team didn't make it. I do not. Let me say this though. This team is not going to go undefeated. So Utah fans, I'm letting you know they're not going to go undefeated.
But this is what I'm going to say. If I had to say ceiling for them, my ceiling for this team is 12-0.
No, I don't believe that.
That is my ceiling. I think so. There is no game on their schedule that you could tell me that they can't win.
No, I understand that.
So when I say ceiling, I'm only saying if I give a loss, I am saying because I think that team cannot win. So my floor is how many games could they lose, right? So I will say they could lose to Florida. They could lose to Baylor. They could lose the UCLA. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I do my floor.
So your ceiling would be 12-0. What would your floor be then? Your floor would have to be like 6-6.
Well, my floor
or 7-5.
Because I would probably say 8-4.
Because they could lose to Washington, Oregon, and USC. So that's already 3. Then you have a team like Baylor. You have a team like Oregon State.
I don't think they're going to lose to Florida. I think they could lose to Baylor. That's the only other game in that schedule that I think they could lose to.
Yeah, so I have it as their floor being 11-1. I'm sorry, their ceiling being 11-1, and their floor being 8-4. Now I have them projected to go 10-2. I think that's where they finish. Sorry, I think they go 10-2. But again, when a 10-2 record just may get you in the Pac-12 championship with how level all the teams are, because a team like Oregon State can beat Oregon in the Civil War. A team like UCLA could beat USC, in South Carolina or in Southern California. So I think all these teams, I mean, even the Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State, all these games are going to be so competitive. Again, like I said, the defense was not played last year. The quarterback play got even better. So I expect shootouts in damn near every game. So anybody can get beaten by anybody. But like I said, I think 10-2 could realistically get you into the conference championship. And I don't think you can say that for a lot of conferences.
Yeah, let me say, I would say 10-2 as well. I have to note that this may be one of the toughest schedules in college football.
I agree.
When you look at this, their out-of-conference games are Florida, who, again, we suspect is going to be down, but that's still Florida. And Baylor, who's probably going to be a pretty good team. The only game that you look on the schedule and you say, like, that's a dud, is the Weber State game. Every other game on this schedule is a decent game. I mean, you could watch Utah every week and have a heck of a college football season. They play 11 very good games. Obviously, I think Colorado is probably going to be a little down, but that's going to be very exciting. I mean, they play every week. Again, minus the Weber State week, they're playing a college football team with a pulse.
Yeah, I mean, the only other games, I mean, you say Colorado and Cal, Arizona State aren't very good. But, I mean, I would say at least 8 of the games, 7 of the games are games that I wouldn't be surprised if, came down to the wire, even if they lost. I think Oregon State is going to be slept on this year. So, I mean, realistically, that could go either way. But
yeah.
I think Utah, again, like I said to start my segment, is the most underrated team and disrespected team in the nation, in all of college football. And I think they're at a point where it's almost like people are surprised at the end of the year when the college football playoff show is getting released and you see Utah at 9 and you're like, why is Utah at 9? Because you didn't watch any of their damn games. Yeah. So people on the East Coast, like I said, I urge you guys to watch more Pac-12 this season. I feel like it's going to be almost impossible not to watch Pac-12 though.
Yeah.
With Caleb Williams winning the Heisman last year, with all the hype surrounding the quarterbacks, and with Colorado now, and with Bo Nix and Oregon, I think you have to watch college football when it's late at night and on Saturdays and even Fridays. So just make sure you guys make that a point of emphasis. Like I said, I got them 10-2. But we'll kind of see what happens when we visit this at the end of the year.